Hey, Waterside. Good to be with you today. It's an exciting day here in South Florida. It's the sun's finally coming out after a lot of morning rain. This tropical stuff is just wonderful to be able to live in, but at the same time, it gets a little bit comical with all the rain that we like to get. Hey, today I'd like to talk about God's call for you and for me as well, because I really think what ends up happening in this process is that we lose sight of what God has got going for us. Um, the basis for my thoughts come from Ephesians chapter 4, where St. Paul is encouraging his people to step in and stand in. And if I could just read it, God chose you to be his people, so I urge you now to live the life to which God called you. It's got two parts, and I think it's important that we focus on both parts uh, and understand that there's this interrelationship and where we're going from there, because it's important that we grasp hold of this concept. First of all, God chose you to be his people. This is a God side of things. This is what he has done. It's not that we were walking down the street one day going, I'll grab God. But this is the divine appointment by God himself to call us to be his people, to call us into a journey together, to call us into a relationship that we didn't have before. He accomplishes that obviously through the person and work of his son Jesus, who came down to this earth from heaven above and did what was needed to be done to pay the once for all sacrifice for sin. And now we have new life, and it's a new life that God calls us to live. And it's an offer to us. Here it is. Take it and run with it. Use it. Follow it. If it's a track to get on and go, then get on and go. That's the key. So the first side of this equation that Paul is trying to, I think, share with us is that God is the one who's gifting us with this great relationship that we have. Now, the disconnect that happens as a result of that in modern day society is, what are we going to do with it? It's as if we've been given a present and we go, oh, thanks God, and we set it off to the side. We don't, I'll use that later, or thanks, that was really not my color, but thanks. I appreciate that nonetheless, but it's not really what I want, but thanks. You get the understanding here. It's what God has given us, and as a result, we take that gift and we're ill-equipped to use it and do something with it because we just don't know the nature of where we can go with it. Well, Paul says to use it, to live the life to which God called you. Get involved with it. Get excited about it. Get in tune with it. Paul wants us to realize that living life is a great challenge. And there are ways in which you can do it. That's what makes Ephesians 4, in my estimation, one of the neatest passages in Scripture. Not only does he tell us God's the one working this, now we can grab hold and live life. And it's not a lockstep type of life. Later, we're reminded that you could be an apostle, a teacher, or you're gifted with the fivefold gifts. You have a combination that's just specifically you, so you are able to go ahead and get jacked up and excited and live that life. It's to take the gift that God has given you, unwrap it, get excited about it, and jump into it just as you are. Now, one of the difficulties in that process is that we don't really always know what to do. What's our next step? So, okay. Or wait. Facebook is calling. I have to go. Oh, wait, I just got an email. I'll be right back. And when we lose sight of that goal, when we begin to drift away from it, then we're just wandering and we're lost. And it's hard to get back to. It's hard to get back to that book that we were reading if we just set it down and never open the cover or never crack it and get back to it. In order to be able to complete that reading of that book, you have to pick it up and read, right? You have to get involved in it. You have to do it. You have to, if we're talking about life here, we have to live it and get excited about it and squeeze it for all that it's worth. It's easy to lose sight of that joy that is involved in that process. We've been given new life, and now we can live it abundantly if we so choose. But we don't always choose. We would rather kind of think, well, it's a bad day today. I got aches and pains. I don't feel that good. The finances aren't what they should be. My job sucks. My life sucks. My world around me sucks. And we start to tell ourselves these things, and we start to believe them. And we get further and further and further away from the truth. But here's the key. God gives us new life. It's our responsibility to live it. And in the living of it, we're going to find the necessary joy and power and strength that we're going to come in contact with God every day and realize how powerful He truly is, and how gracious and understanding and how forgiving. And, well, we could just throw tons of adjectives on God because we ought to. And frankly, we can't do it on our own. If He's given us the gift of a new life, and I believe He has, if He's given each one of you a gift of new life, then perhaps it's time you start living it. Perhaps it's time to just start taking hold of it and doing it. If God's given you a path to walk on, say thanks, start walking. Don't say thanks, sit down, think about it, I'll get back to it, God, and go in a different direction. Now, unfortunately, I think that's what ends up happening to most folks today, especially in the American culture. You know, we're so bound up with what's going on. We keep track of all the news and all the Facebook inputs and all the Twitter inputs, the Instagrams. All these different news sources that we didn't have before are all taking our attentions. And then there's terrible things that happen with shootings and hurricanes and earthquakes and all of these things that come our way, and we just don't know how to respond. And then another thing happens. Well, we're four events back, still stuck wondering, what am I going to do? How am I going to respond to that? And then all these other things come along the way. We find in this whole process, there's a bit of fatigue that sets in, and we get stuck, and we just don't know what to do next. St. Paul's pretty clear. Live the life. Just live it. Get involved in it. Run with it. Keep it. Be strong in it. Do what you have to do in order to embrace it, to grab hold of it, to just fully put your arms around it and give it a hug and a squeeze. And do that every day. Do that every morning. Do that every lunchtime. Do that every night. Do that with your kids. Do that with your wife or your husband. Do that with your family members. Do that with your loved ones, no matter where they might be. Embrace them, walk with them, journey with them, be excited about life, because that's the way God intends it for you. He wants you to be in a relationship with Him. He wants to have you call Him Dad. He wants you to sit in His lap every night, every day. He wants to hear the stories of how your day went after school, after work, after night. He wants to hear and appreciate being part of your life. But it only works if you engage in a process where you live it. Live that life. And when you live that life, you begin to realize that this is something God's given me. I owe a debt to Him. I give Him thanks and praise. I give Him back the life that He gave to me. And so I'm going to see what's new today. And so He invites us to live it. And I think that's what St. Paul is driving us to get a better understanding of. But he also realizes, and we'll just focus in and conclude on this thought today, he also realizes how much we are distracted from accomplishing that. One of the things we need to do is realize that we have to get up and do it. We have to go for it. We have to get off our seats or out of this with the bleachers of life, as it were, get down onto the playing field and play. We can't just sit back and watch other people do it. It is the propensity of our society these days to sit back and watch others do the work, not me. That's not my job. I don't feel like doing that. I have other things to do. Oh, what's that? The phone? I'll get it. Oh, what's that? My Facebook? I'll get it. And we're not bad-mouthing these entities at all. What we're bad-mouthing is our proclivity to just to have our attention span totally erased and totally forgotten by what our phone does, our cell phones. Or we're so fascinated by taking the next picture of ourselves, we forget that life is about living and not taking pictures of ourselves. We need to realize that the focus is on what we might be able to do as a result of getting up and getting involved in what God has in store for us. So friends, take the time today to thank God for giving you that new life, calling you to a new way of living, giving you a second chance, a third chance, a 400th chance to live life and walk with Him. And then walk. Get busy. Live life. Live it to the fullest. Make each and every day that you have your last day, because you might not have another chance to get at it. You might be dead this evening. You might be dead tomorrow. You only have so much time and energy, so put it into it. Pour into life. Live it. Live what God has given to you to its fullest degree. We sit back and do nothing. Boring. Our lives will show it, and it will be lackluster, and there'll be nothing there for us. But when we begin to grab hold of the joy that is a result of our Heavenly Father caring enough about us to give us a new life, a new start, a second chance, a third chance, however you want to phrase it in your mind's eye, it's yours. Now use it. Live it. And don't do it partially. Do it full bore. Give it your best. Have the best day of your life today. You can. You ought to. You should. Pack it up. Fill it up with doing things for others. Pack it up with doing things for your family. Pack it up for doing things for yourself, so that you could be in God's grace and realize what He has given to you. And at the end of this wonderful day, give Him thanks and get ready for the ride tomorrow. It's just that way. It's an awesome understanding in all that we do. Hey, be blessed as you do that. Get off your butt, go live life to the fullest, and be His, and be excited about that message. And share it with someone else who might be looking at you going, wow, you're on fire. What's going on? Tell them about a new life that Jesus has won for you, and how you live that. Be blessed. Talk soon. Thanks for listening.